Welcome to the Straight from the Source's Mouth podcast. Frank talk about sex and dating.
Hello, Tamara here. Welcome to the show. Today's guest is Skyblu Cutchie, a certified relationship, intimacy, and sex therapist, and we'll be talking about life being too short for bad sex. Thanks for joining me, Skyblu.
Thank you. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, great topics as usual. I mean, anytime we talk about sex, they're popular, but we're also talking about how to not have bad sex, so that's even better.
Yeah, it's an exciting topic.
Yeah. So what got you into it? And then a little bit about that, and then we can get started on what you have to share.
Sure. Honestly, I've always just been really passionate about the topic of human sexuality, and I was in university, and I took a psych of sexuality course for the first time, and it was just really exciting, and I loved it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need more of this in my life. And so I just kept taking like sexuality courses when I could, and then I realized I wanted to be a therapist. And when I got into grad school, I realized I could be a sex therapist, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. It's the perfect combo.
Yeah. And as a sex therapist now, what are some of the biggest complaints like between couples? Do you coach couples or individuals? Or
I do couples and individuals. And I'd say for couples, some of the biggest complaints, of course, are we want to have more sex, we want to have better sex, or one person wants this kind of sex, but the other person doesn't want that kind of sex. Or like people come in conflict, like there's been infidelity or something like that is common.
Yeah, that makes sense. Those are the things you hear people talking about. And is there like a philosophy you take, or you just do individual, like as it comes? I mean, obviously you're trained in this stuff, but is there a certain lens you use to help people?
Yeah, there are. So when you become a therapist, like there's so many lenses you can work through, and I'm pretty eclectic, which means I have a couple favorites that I use often. It's called person-centered is one, and the developmental model is the other. But I also like pull from a bunch of other ones if in the moment I'm like, oh, this particular strategy would be really good for this person, I'll kind of pull that in. So I'm a little bit eclectic.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, do what's needed for each person.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's start with, I guess, individuals first. Like we talked about having bad sex. Like, what can people who feel like they're having bad sex, like individually, what can they do for themselves if it's not as good as they would like, or they can't ask for what they want?
Yeah. I think it depends on what the problem is. So like your example was, I don't know how to ask for what I want. And I think that a lot of women struggle with this, and for various reasons, right? Like women aren't encouraged as much as men to get in touch with what feels good to them and how to ask for those things. Because as women, we get like, what's the word? Like people kind of call us bad names if we know what we want in bed.
Double
right?
standard.
The double standard. So women often feel super detached from what they want in bed. So if that were the issue, I would recommend starting to ask yourself, like, what do I want outside of the bedroom first? So like in your day-to-day life, are you in touch with what feels good to you in your body? So for example, like sipping your first cup of coffee or tea in the morning, are you really soaking up like how good that feels? Like the taste, the smell, like if it just excites you in the morning, like those are all things you could be absorbing and sitting with. So starting outside of the bedroom is really important. Like getting in touch with what do you want and what feels good to you on a daily basis. And then you can take that into the bedroom. And then ask yourself, like, what do I want in the bedroom? How do I want to be touched? How do I want to, like, do I like dirty talk or not? Do I want to try this new thing or not? Like, I call it the what do I want muscle.
Mm.
So you got to work it out. And it's like you're going to the gym for your what do I want muscle. And you work it outside of the bedroom. And when it gets comfortable, you bring that into the bedroom. And it's similar, but it's like less intimidating if you do it in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. And are you familiar with OMG Yes?
Yeah.
There's the website that, because I've seen a few videos lately where people talk about, like, you know, how they learned. Like one woman in particular, she was mentioning that she wanted her boyfriend to touch her like a certain way more often, but he wasn't. She felt she didn't know how to say it, so she just started like touching herself the way she liked as they were getting undressed, or so he could see it, you know, without saying anything. And that was her approach to like do it. I don't know. It seems like a good thing. Would you
I love that.
agree?
Totally. You can use your words, but you can also show someone, like, this is how I like it. And first you got to practice with yourself, right? To be able to show somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what do I want muscle could be, I'm going to tell you or I'm going to show you. But first you have to work it out on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. I've for masturbation, for some reason, I've always done it the same way, like on my back, doing the, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and apparently a lot of people do it like on their stomach, which I didn't even consider as a thing, and all kinds of like different techniques. So yeah, it's like, I know OMGS does that as well, like shares that kind of stuff, but
that's a really great resource.
Yeah. And I know, so like when it comes to masturbation and figuring out what you like, is there a way to do it, or just like you said, just try stuff? And or like as a sex therapist, is there like a certain area that you know you should focus on? And
do you mean specifically for women?
yeah, I guess for this answer, I think most men seem to know, like you said.
I think just exploring touch and like figuring out what feels good to you and where. And it doesn't just have to be like on your genitals. It could be anywhere on your body, because for women, like for people, but especially women, we really got to feel turned on in our brain first and like open and willing for intimacy and sex. And for most women, going directly to the genitals, like from 0 to genital, can feel like too much or overwhelming, or like it's not even pleasurable yet because your brain is not on board. So kind of exploring like different parts of your body. You could like start in the shower, for example, and get relaxed, put on some music, touch your body in different places in different ways. And it's really just about exploration and what feels good to you.
Yeah, I was say you could also start ahead of time if you know you're going to be having sex. Get yourself revved up in time. I don't know if that's something you recommend, but I can see where that would be helpful.
I do recommend it. Yeah, there's actually, if you want to know, there's 2 types of desire. Do you want to hear about that?
Yeah.
So the first type of desire is called spontaneous desire. And all people experience it, but mostly men and male-bodied people. So it's like a lighter. If you like flick on a lighter. So the brain is the thing that gets turned on first. And for spontaneous desire, if the brain sees, hears, smells, tastes, or touches something that feels good, and the brain will be like, ooh, I like that. I want more of that. That feels sexy. I'm into it. And it's kind of spontaneous. Mm-hmm. There's another kind called responsive desire. And it's not like a lighter. It's more like a campfire. So you get to get the little kindling in the grass, and the smoke is going, and then the little sticks, and then the flame grows and grows. And so it takes a little bit more time. So that's like, in the morning, I'm listening to sexy music. And then in the afternoon, I'm like dancing in the kitchen. And then I put something sexy on my body, that makes me feel sexy, like silky clothes, for example. So you're kind of revving your engine, and it takes a little bit longer, but your brain starts to respond. Your brain is like, oh, okay, now I kind of like this. Now this feels nice to me. So it takes a little bit longer to get in the mood, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And I think I read where you recommend stop waiting to be in the mood. Cultivating desire is like one of the topics you mentioned. So like, is that pretty much what you're saying? Like, hi, everyone. Sorry for the interruption. I just wanted to point out that there is a send us a text message at the very beginning of the description, and you can use that to send an anonymous question or comment. So I'd really appreciate it. All right. Thanks.
That's what I'm saying. It's got to be more intentional. There's kind of a myth that like the best sex is spontaneous sex. And I would say that's not true. Because if you think about let's say we're talking to people who are in long-term relationships. If you remember when you first got together, when you were dating, like you probably knew you were going to go on a date, like in a day or two or in a week, and you were preparing for that in some way. You were getting waxed, bought a nice dress. You were thinking about how you were going to do your makeup. You want to shave. Oh, you want to make sure you smell nice. Like you're doing all these like things to prepare to be close to this person, to maybe have sex with this person. So it's not like boom, spontaneous out of nowhere, right? So when we're in long-term relationships, we can do the same thing. And it just kind of feels a little bit different because we're not new in the relationship anymore.
Yeah, but still treating it like date night and getting all fancied up.
Exactly. Still getting in the mood.
Yeah. And I know you talk about pleasure without pressure. Is that, you want to go there? Would that be helpful at this?
Yeah, for sure. So what I mean by that is I hear a lot of women say they feel pressured when it comes to sex in their relationship. And what I see in my practice with clients, coaching clients, is that there's different scenarios, but if I'm going to just say like we're talking about a man and a woman, and the man, he might want more sex than she does, and when he approaches her and she says like no, not right now, and if he has some sort of negative reaction like you always say no, or he gets upset, or he throws a tantrum is what I call it, that's going to feel like pressure to the partner who's saying no. So that's one form of pressure. Or if the person who's like, I'm going to make something up. I really want to do oral sex tonight. And your partner is like, I don't really feel like it. I'm not up for that. And you're like, you should want this because it makes me happy and you should just do it. That type of thing is also pressure.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that when a person feels pressured around sex, it's going to close the door to sex and intimacy. So it actually totally goes against what you want. Like if you want more sex and intimacy, you do not want to put pressure on your partner at all. It's going to get in your way of more sex and intimacy. So sex without pressure is really, really important for everybody. It makes sex so much better. So there's like various ways that you can make sex like non-pressure. So one way is not do the things that I described. So if someone says, no, not tonight, or I don't want the same thing you do, you need to accept that with grace and be like, internally be like, oh, I feel sad or disappointed, but that's okay. I'm going to go take care of myself. Like, I'm going to go exercise, or maybe I'm going to go self-pleasure or masturbate, or I'm going to go see some friends. Like, go take care of yourself, but don't let those uncomfortable feelings come out on your partner in a negative way. That's one way.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then other ways are like if your partner says, no, I don't want oral sex tonight, that doesn't mean that it's just a no, we can't connect. It just means, okay, well, what would you feel up for? What would feel good for you? And you just keep talking about it, right? You don't have to get all pissed off or upset or feel rejected. You can just keep talking like it's totally fine that your partner doesn't want the same thing you do. That's another great way to take the pressure off.
Yeah. And then what about pressure to like have an orgasm, like having that be the goal? Is that part of that discussion? Or?
Yeah, I love that you brought that up. Absolutely. So sex that has some sort of goal in mind, which most of the time is having an orgasm or having penetrative sex. Most people are like, that's the goal, and we're rushing to those goals. That puts pressure on people because they feel like they have to meet this expectation. They get in their heads and it does all sorts of unhelpful things to the body when we get into that mode. So taking the pressure off of orgasms, like you may or may not have an orgasm, and that's totally fine. That's not a problem. Orgasms are great, but the point of sex really should be about connection and pleasure. Connection and pleasure, not orgasms and penetration. So if you don't have an orgasm, no big deal. We still had a great time connecting. Yeah. I still felt really close to you. I love that. Or penetration didn't happen. That's totally fine. There's so much more fun stuff we can do together. And for a lot of women, penetration isn't super pleasurable on its own. So there's so many other things that might even feel better for her.
Yeah. Or at least focusing on the other parts while you're having penetrative sex.
Yeah.
meaning the clitoris.
Yes. So, that is one way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right. What are some other complaints like on either side?
Like usually what I see is like men are saying, I want more sex and intimacy. And she's saying, but I want more emotional connection. That seems to be a really common dynamic.
Yeah.
And people really butt heads over this. So what I try to help folks do is cultivate the emotional connection, are you going on dates? Are you spending time together where you're not fighting? Are you spending time without the kids? Are you spending that connective time together and really seeing each other, hearing each other's emotions, asking each other how your day is going? Because for most people, if that's absent, how can you expect another person to be like, yeah, now I want to have sex with you? Because that's even more vulnerable,
Yeah.
So I think that this is such a key piece that folks need to work on, just being friends and having a good time together and seeing each other and having some fun.
Yeah. Because
if things are serious and not fun, or there's a lot of friction all the time, how can you expect sex to happen? Sex is supposed to be fun, pressure-free, a way to just feel good. So these two things are very, very connected. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, especially like you said, most women need that. And that's their biggest thing is they want to feel seen and heard. And if they're not going to be able to do it. And then for men, they want respect. And, if they perceive their significant other as nagging and not listening to them or whatever, it's a whole, that's the biggest thing to me is just that men and women are so different. And people don't understand that about each other. We're just, a lot of women think they're just misbehaving women instead of men. We're just so different, the way our outlooks and the way our brains are, the way we think about everything and focused on. And I just think if we understood the opposite sex, everyone would be a lot better off, especially in sex too. Mm-hmm. And I know I see that you talk about a pleasure first approach. Is that, especially when life is busy, is that kind of like you were saying with the date nights, or is there more to it? Or
yeah, I think that pleasure first means, are you focusing on your pleasure every day? Like what feels good to you in your body, in your mind, your spirit? Are you taking 30 seconds to stand in the sun and feel it on your face and like really soaking that up? Are you taking a moment to like listen to music that makes you feel really happy in the morning? That's something that I do. I do that every day. And I do it for my pleasure. And so you got to start there, number one. But then also when it comes to sex and intimacy, like sex is about pleasure and connection. So sex can mean anything you want as long as it feels pleasurable, right? So is the touch feeling pleasurable? Is the connection pleasurable? And if it's not, don't keep doing the thing that doesn't feel pleasurable. And it's okay to say, I want to switch it up, or no, I don't want this anymore, or no, I don't want that at all, because it doesn't feel pleasurable to you. That's totally fine.
Yeah. And usually both partners would want to please their partner. And if they think they're doing it, but they're not, and you're not saying anything, obviously, like you just said, they're not going to know to not do it. So
totally. I think the underlying current is like, communicate. We got to talk about this stuff.
Yeah. On that note, do you want to communicate how people can reach you or work with you, or like your website, and just any information how they can?
Yeah, for sure. So my coaching business is called Intimacy with Blue, and that's BLU, Intimacy with Blue. I have a website. I also have a free community for women on Facebook called Thriving Women in Relationships. And if you're in Washington State and you want to do some sex therapy, I have Skyblu Therapy in Washington State.
Okay. Very cool. And then are there any like kind of parting thoughts, final comments you just want to takeaways for the people listening to get?
Sure. I would say, focus on your pleasure every day. That's super important. Fill up your own cup so that when it comes to sex and intimacy, like you have more energy to exchange with another person and it doesn't feel like you're giving it away, right? Because you're constantly filling up your own cup. That's your number one step.
Okay. Awesome. All righty. Well, thank you very much. Good stuff to know.
Thank you.
Yeah. And if you love this episode, be sure to tell your friends about it and rate it as well. But thank you again for joining me, Skyblu.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Ready. Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Frank Talk, sex and dating educates.